Well, it is time for another book review, a proper book review, no commentary, no top 10 list, just a straight up forward book review. And I threw on my jacket here, so somebody was saying I was giving off cult leader vibes with this shirt and the microphone looking like some kind of medallion. So hopefully I've look a little bit more classy. I don't know, but either way, this is Underground by David Macaulay. And this is a discarded library book. I'd love to know what library it's from. I can't see that there's Westbridge School Library. This is one that I checked out a library repeatedly as a child. So this is kind of going back to my past. This is from 1976 and beautifully illustrated book. And believe it or not, this does dovetail with a lot of the subject matter on this channel. This was one of those books that I think I was in third grade, and it was kind of funny. I have two older brothers, and one of my older brothers that he and I shared a room growing up, he went to a different school. He's a few years older than me. He's going to a different school, and he found this in the school library and checked it out, and he told me about it. So I found it in my school library and checked it out. And we would check this out repeatedly. We were so fascinated by this book. And this author did several books like this, and I have a few more in my library too. That one is about castles. I think there's one about Roman architecture and things like that. But fascinating books. But the thing with this is all about underground infrastructure. And I think I was like 8 or 9 when I checked this out, and this just blew my mind. Just seeing this cutaway view of what was underneath the city, and then it has some beautiful illustrations of all about the way concrete is poured, the way foundations are made, all kinds of cool stuff in here. Going back to older foundations, newer, a cross-section of what's under the street. Just so much cool stuff in here, and especially for a curious grade school age boy, this was amazing to get my hands on. The layout of the sewer systems, layout of the storm drain system, just lots of cool stuff in here. And this sparked my brothers and I to go and explore our storm drain system, probably more than we should have, but some really cool stuff about the subway system. And of course, growing up in Dallas at that time, that was prior to our light rail system there. So we did not have anything like that, but I'm trying to find that subway system. But pretty cool stuff about the layout and design of a lot of underground infrastructures, everything from storm drains to subway systems, and all hand illustrated, obviously well before CAD and that sort of thing. But overall, great book. And if you're like me and you're curious about underground stuff, especially Cold War infrastructure, this is just a fascinating book to understand kind of what's there, the more prosaic infrastructure and what it's for, how it's built, and just cool books all around. So yeah, here we go. On the back, here's the at least 3 of his other books, and I think there might be more than this too, because I've got one on castles too, but this is Cathedral, City, and Pyramid. And they're just all about old construction techniques and just lots of good information in it. And I credit this book to propelling me to be curious about all things underground and stuff like that. And of course, I grew up in this, I was checking this book out of the library in probably 81, 82, somewhere in there. And that was also, during my childhood, that was a kind of a peak era of Cold War hysteria about nuclear war and all that. So that, of course, I was listening to a lot of talk of fallout shelters and underground bunkers and that sort of thing. And for me, where that curiosity really took off was my first year or second year in college. I had heard stories about missile silos, abandoned missile silos in West Texas. And I just thought that was crazy, that really abandoned missile silos? And I finally met someone who, I kept bugging my friends about it because people kept telling me these stories, and I thought this was like crazy talk. And finally, I met somebody who knew somebody who got me in touch with this guy who had built his house over an old Atlas silo. and went out there and went into it, took pictures, and I posted those in another video, and I might do an updated video with some of those pictures in it, because it blew my mind. That was in 1992, and I'll never forget it, because seeing this abandoned missile silo that with these huge blast doors and massive concrete walls and everything built to the tune of millions of dollars in 1960s money, and then just seeing this abandoned. And your first thought is, what replaced this? If this is literally throwaway technology, where this guy has built his house on top and he's got chickens and dogs running around on the top of it, and this, what looks like some kind of dystopian sci-fi building, is like literally throwaway technology. What replaced this? And what is the state of the art now? So, you know, and again, that was 33 years ago, so 32 years ago. And that sent me digging into a lot of other things, because then you start going, okay, I realize there's a lot more possible than I thought was possible. So anyway, and as those of you who follow my channel know, I love exploring underground places and looking around and checking out old Cold War infrastructure. Recently, I went to Amarillo, isn't far from me, and Amarillo is close to a major weapons facility that, funny thing, I can't say the name of it on social media. It like sets off all kinds of alarm bells to say the name of this place, so I'm not going to do that. Maybe in the future I'll make a sign to hold up so I can show what it is. But because of Amarillo's proximity to this place, it has allegedly a lot of tunnels and things. And I did find some the other day and was exploring those with one of my kids, just walking through. A lot of it's the typical tunnels that connect buildings downtown, but some of that then connects to some tunnels that look like they were made in that probably 60s era of Cold War bunkers and fallout shelters. So anyway, I've always been fascinated by that stuff. And then, like I said, that carried over into adulthood and books like Underground Bases and Tunnels, What is the Government Trying to Hide by Richard Sauter. And I might just do a book video on just books about underground, weird stuff underground, because there's a lot there. That's a fascinating topic to me anyway. I don't know how many of you might be interested in that, but anyway, this is kind of the gateway drug, as it were, of underground infrastructure. So if you're curious about that, this is a great book. If you have kids that are curious about this sort of thing, fascinating. And again, for kids, I think it's great, even for adults, just to know how things work in your town, in your city, and knowing how basic infrastructure is. It just makes you appreciate what's going on under your feet a lot more, as far as utility cables and where your power lines are going, where where sewage and drainage goes. So anyway, overall, I can't recommend this enough. This is one, I'm sure there's probably, I'm sure this is one readily available on Amazon. But anyway, that is Underground by David Macaulay, and an excellent book. Probably not that hard to find. I didn't look it up before I made this video, but who knows, you might score an old library copy, and who knows, it might be the one that was in my library back when I was growing up. But this was the kind of stuff that I used to seek out, and still really fascinating to go back through and read this again. So there you go, Underground, and hopefully that was a good, informative, palate cleansing book review after some of the stuff I posted lately. Hope you enjoyed it.